Secretary, Ministry of Education, our guest of honor, His Excellency Manu Mahawar, Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman, special guest, Dr. Ali Al Shukaili, Director General, Private Schools, Ministry of Education, Mr. Al Azhar Saud Al Salmi, Assistant Director, International Schools Office, Ministry of Education, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, Mr. Kiran Asher, and other dignitaries. May I request all to kindly stand as we play the royal anthem of Oman, followed by the national anthem of India. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to our guest of honor, His Excellency Manu Mahawar, Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman. Please be seated. We shall now welcome the dignitaries in the most eco-friendly manner with a potted plant. Here is Neetu Andrews, head girl, Indian School Al Gubra, to welcome our chief guest, His Excellency Dr. Abdullah Khamiz Ali Ambusaidi, Under Secretary, Ministry of Education. Here is Mohammad Khuru, head boy, Indian School Al Gubra, to welcome our guest of honor, His Excellency Manu Mahavar, Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman. Now, Neetu Andrews will welcome our special guest, Dr. Ali Al Shukaili, Director General, Private Schools, Ministry of Education. Next, Mohammad Khuru will welcome Mr. Waleed Khalid Al Rashidi, Director of the Office of His Excellency, the Undersecretary. Next, Neetu Andrews will welcome Mr. Al Azhar Saud Al Salmi, Assistant Director, International Schools Office, Ministry of Education. Next, Mohammad Khuru will welcome Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. And here is Neetu Andrews to welcome Mr. Kiran Asher.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin this evening's program on a solemn note with this beautifully visualized prayer song, Make Me a Channel of Your Peace, presented to you by the students of Indian School Al Gubra.
Where there's
Now, the Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, will deliver the welcome address. Dr. Baby Sam Samuel is an ardent proponent of social entrepreneurship, an award-winning business consultant specialized in turnaround management, business mentoring, and strategic consultancy. A leader and mentor with 20 plus years of international, cross-functional, multicultural expertise, Dr. Sam's management experiences cut across corporate businesses, non-profit and social enterprises in diverse fields such as technology, media, education, youth development, and community welfare. His visionary leadership as the chairman of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, has had a prolific impact in the Indian schooling system. He leaves no stone unturned to realize the vision of the board that every child from our school shall undergo transformative learning and be equipped with knowledge, skills, and well-being to find their identity and purpose in life. To realize this vision, the board has spearheaded more than 40 initiatives in a short span of 2.5 years aimed at the holistic development of students, their academic, physical, emotional, and social enhancement and well-being. This has indeed been a historical achievement. Additionally, Dr. Sam is the Vice Chairman and Director on the Board of Knowledge Oman, the largest knowledge-based voluntary organization in Oman. He is also the founding president of Anjapam Charitable Trust, a social enterprise food aid project functioning in India to benefit the economically backward and often forgotten section of the society. He is a member of the Industrial Advisory Board, Higher Education Institutes in Oman, and a member, Standing Committee, Academics, National Council for Teacher Education, Government of India. Dr. Baby Sam Samuel is the recipient of numerous national and international awards for his significant contributions in the educational, social, and business domains. May I now request Mrs. Papri Ghosh, Principal, Indian School Al Gobra, to escort Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools Oman, onto the stage. Over to you, sir, for the welcome address.
Thank you, ma'am. It is said, a mind that is stretched to a new idea never returns to its original dimension. That permanent and empowering enlightenment, that's what teachers, our teachers and teachers everywhere, achieve with every thought, idea, and lesson imparted. Chief guest of this evening, His Excellency Abdullah Khamis Ali Ambusaidi, Undersecretary, Ministry of Education. A guest of honor, His Excellency Manu Mahavar, Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman. Dr. Ali Al-Shukeli, Director General, Ministry of Education. Mr. Al-Asir Saud Al-Salmi, Assistant Director of International Schools Office, Ministry of Education. Mr. Walid Khalid Al-Rashdi, Director of Undersecretary's Office. Our keynote speaker, Ms. Andrea Safiroku, present virtually here today. Mr. Kiran Ashar and family, my respected colleagues on the board, President of Indian School Al Gobra, Mr. Ahmed Reis, Principal, Ms. Papri Ghosh, teachers and administration faculty, good evening, and welcome you all to the celebration of the Best of Teaching and Learning, the 2020 Naveen Ajakasi Award for Excellence in Teaching. This year, after more than 12 months of COVID-19, our celebration here takes a new meaning. Teachers across the globe have been and are still frontline warriors, battling and breaking down the barriers in the global effort to ensure continued education. Even when the entire world came to a standstill, one thing was certain: learning must continue against all odds. Schools and teachers everywhere, from developed regions to rural areas and even war zones, they have gone beyond their resources, expertise, and experiences in carving new methods of teaching and learning in whatever ways possible. This year, the celebration also comes with a new level of appreciation from parents and students themselves, who perhaps for the very first time were able to see, really see, their teachers as what they truly are: superheroes. As a popular meme goes, not all superheroes wear capes. And today, we get this opportunity to let our superheroes know that they are appreciated and valued. Their resilience and efforts have ensured that the Indian schools in Oman have been able to move almost seamlessly to remote lessons within a matter of weeks. We have been able to successfully ensure continued access to education for 10 months through a structured remote learning program. This celebration is also a reminder to our teachers and counselors that the impact that they leave in the world is infinite, reverberating across generations to come. As terrible as COVID has been, one of the silver linings of the pandemic is the acceleration of changes in academia, particularly the paradigm shift from a teacher-led learning to a student-led learning. And now is the best time to enable our students to be self-learners, equipping them with a growth mindset needed for them to be lifelong learners. What happened tomorrow has always been uncertain, and even more so now. But come what may, what need to remain as our ideal and our ambition is our openness to change and growth. The annual Naveen Ajakasi Award for Excellence in Teaching aimed to reflect the highest standards in pedagogy, a record of outstanding teacher effectiveness within and outside the classroom, and the ability to inspire, promote, and sustain the holistic development of students. Now, without further ado, let me introduce and acknowledge our esteemed guests today evening. Let me first acknowledge Our Majesty, Sultan Haitham bin Tariq bin Taimur Al Said, and late His Majesty Sultan Qaboos bin Said Al Said, and the nation of Oman for the visionary support extended to our educational system throughout our existence. We shall remain indebted to their visionary leadership and pledge our allegiance to His Majesty Haitham bin Tariq Al Said. We also express our deepest gratitude to the Ministry of Education, without whose benevolent, timely, and wholesome guidance and support, we would not have been able to achieve any of our milestones. This evening, it is our honor and privilege to welcome our chief guest of this evening, His Excellency Abdullah Khamis Ali Ambusaidi, the Undersecretary, Ministry of Education, an eminent professor, author, research guide, trainer, and academic expert. His Excellency Abdullah Khamis Ali Ambusaidi is a prominent name in the academic leadership with a trail of exemplary work throughout his career. His Excellency has graciously accepted our invite today for the very first hybrid gathering after almost a year of virtual-only events. He's also here with us for the first visit to the Indian schooling system. Your Excellency, we thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you for your benign presence here today, and we also wholeheartedly welcome you to the Indian school family. Next, I welcome our guest of honor, His Excellency Manu Mahawar, the Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman. As ambassador to the Sultanate since 2018, His Excellency has been a constant support to our schools, especially during the trying times at the worst of COVID-19 in Oman. His Excellency Sri Manu Mahavar never think twice to spare his time to inspire and encourage the activities of Indian schools in Oman. Excellency, I extend a very warm welcome to you to this celebration. It is with utmost gratitude that I welcome our special guest, Dr. Ali Al-Shukaili, the Director General, Ministry of Education. Dr. Ali Al-Shukaili has headed prominent departments in the Ministry of Education. And as Assistant Director General of the Muscat Governorate, Dr. Ali Al-Shukaili was able to define and uplift the academic excellence of the region with collective vision and competency. Sir, we welcome you wholeheartedly to the Best Teacher Award celebration of the Indian schools in Oman. We have with us Mr. Alasar Saud Al-Salmi, Assistant Director, International Schools Office, Ministry of Education. Mr. Alasar has nearly 2 decades of association with the Indian schools in Oman, and he has been a pillar of support for all our educational endeavors. Thank you for accepting our invitation this evening, and welcome to this gathering. It is with pleasure that I introduce and welcome our keynote speaker, Andrea Safiroku, who is joining us with us virtually from the United Kingdom. In my first address at the Best Teacher Award 2018, I began with the story of Andrea Safiroku, a school teacher at the multicultural community schooling system from UK, the Alfreton Community School, how she has become an inspiration for teachers across the world with her empathy and passion by winning the 2018 Global Teacher Award. Today, to have her with us is an immense blessing, and we wholeheartedly welcome her to this event and to the Indian schools in Oman. I take this opportunity to especially acknowledge and thank Mr. Kiran Asher and his family, who have supported us and our teaching community through the Naveen Azukazi Award for Excellence in Teaching since 2014. Recipient of the prestigious Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award, Mr. Kiran Asher is a renowned entrepreneur and has been on the Forbes Middle East list of top Indian business leaders in the Middle East for the past few consecutive years. Mr. Kiran Asher's contribution to the Indian schools has been immense as a chairman and vice chairman of the Indian Schools Board in the years. We welcome Kiran Asher and family with open hearts and great pleasure. I also take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Walid Khalid Al-Rashdi, the Director of Undersecretary's Office, my respected colleagues on the board, President of Indian School Al-Gubra, members of the School Management Committee of Indian School Al-Gubra, the Principal of Indian School Al-Gubra, the organizing members of the school who have enabled this event today in such a spectacular manner. Thank you. I also welcome all the teachers and faculty of all Indian schools in Oman, whose dedication and efforts we are here to celebrate. A special welcome goes to the stars of the evening today. Congratulations. Let me conclude. On this occasion, I would like to remind our teachers and our system what collaboration and synergy is capable of. Now, more than ever, we need each other. We need to be there for each other, to support and to empower one another. In 2021 and beyond, let's utilize the power of community and synergy to grow our schools into an educational system, a center of excellence, a space of 21st century learning, where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that very warm welcome. May I request Mrs. Papri Ghosh to escort the chairman to his seat. Thank you, ma'am. The chief guest, His Excellency, Dr. Abdullah Khamis Ali Ambusaidi, Undersecretary, Ministry of Education, will now address the gathering. Professor Abdullah Ambusaidi is a professor of science education. He received his PhD from the Center of Science Education, Glasgow University, United Kingdom. Currently, he is the Undersecretary for Education at the Ministry of Education, Oman. He worked previously at the Sultan Qaboos University and has held several positions such as Director for the Center of Humanities Research, Dean of Postgraduate Studies, Assistant Dean of the Faculty of Education, and Head of the Department of Curriculum and Instruction at the Faculty of Education. He has supervised more than 80 master's and doctorate degrees in science education at the Sultan Qaboos University and abroad. His Excellency was the external and internal examiner for more than 50 master's and doctoral dissertations. His Excellency has more than 130 published and accepted research papers, both in Arab and English, well-known international journals. His Excellency has 6 books in science teaching widely used by teachers. He has also participated in writing chapters on teaching science, environmental and health education in both Arabic and English. His Excellency has also participated with a number of educators from both inside and outside Oman. He has translated 2 books in teaching science from English to Arabic. His Excellency is a consultant and trainer for many educational development projects in Oman, including the Tamam project, which is a school-based program, and also the Green Schools Initiative. His Excellency is also a leading researcher of various educational projects, such as the School Garden Project, Ecotourism Project, Health Education Project, and the Omani Heritage Project in the school curriculum. His Excellency has presented several papers and attended more than 40 conferences and seminars internationally in the field of science, education, and sustainable development. He is a member of the editorial board of several educational journals at regional and international levels. May I now request Mr. Vinoba MP, Education Advisor, to escort His Excellency onto the stage for the Chief Guest's exhortation. Over to you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear Dr. Baby Samuel, the Chairman of Boards of Directors at the Indian International Schools, dear Your Excellency, Mr. Manu Muhawar, the Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman, dear teachers and administrative staff at the Indian school, dear parents, and my dear children, dear all attendants. Thank you very much for this invitation to patron this event today. It is my greatest pleasure to be among you today and feel happy and proud to honor our teachers in schools and education field. Thanks for all successful cooperative efforts have been done so far between the Ministry of Education and the Embassy of India, as well as thanks for all successful cooperative works done by our Department of Private Schools at the Ministry, specifically the section of International School and the Board of Directors of the Indian School across the Sultanate of Oman. The Indian school in Oman has built up a very high reputation for a high quality education, as well as for perfect education atmosphere within its premises to all children and all staff. The Indian school in Oman are among the best role international models now, and wish you keep this amazing work going on for years and years, generation by generation, inshallah. I wish more succeed and development in coming years to be accomplished. I also here today to assure you that we at the Ministry of Education will continue providing you with hands or any kind of needed support for you, and it is our greatest pleasure and full duty to do this. I can assure you again that we will be available with you for any assistant that will add more value for education, quality for learning, and creativeness in learning. We are to assure learners' well-being, learner best interest, and meeting and applying recent modern century standards in learning. Thanks again for allowing me to give you my quick message and speech to you all in this remarkable event where we all here for honoring our teachers, whom with no doubt are the first reason of succeed of our children and the succeed of our whole education system as well as our communities. At the end of speech, I would like to hear you the quote of the best saying that is related to teachers and their importance for our humanity and society. The quote is coming from one of the Arab potter, Mr. Ahmed Shawqi, who nicknamed the Prince of Poets, was born in 1870 in Egypt. He said that the teacher is almost a messenger. The teacher is almost a messenger. Ahmed Shawqi said this because he realized at that time that the teacher in life or teacher in school is the best person to ensure safety and confidence. He also perceived and believed in teachers as if they were ideal in characteristic and personality. The teacher almost become a messenger because the Prince of Poets in the modern era saw and perceived that the teacher was doing the same role of father and mother, sister and brother before he worked as a teacher. Teachers simply are the manifestation of sacrifice. Teachers have special strong feeling towards the will of the children of their community. Thank you again, and inshallah see you in the future event. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, His Excellency, for those wonderful words of appreciation. His Excellency will now be escorted back to his seat by Mr. Vinoba. Thank you, sir.
Let us now move on to the felicitation of the principal for his long service and also appreciate the CBSE Best Teacher awardees. His Excellency Shri Manu Mahavar assumed charge of the post of Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman in 2018. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1996. He has served in diplomatic missions in Moscow and Geneva. At the headquarters, he has served as desk officer for Nepal and director in the Prime Minister's office. He also headed the Establishment Division and UN Political Division in the Ministry of External Affairs. Prior to his present assignment, he was head of the Americas Division. Shri Mahavar was born in Dhamtari, Chhattisgarh. He has done his BTech in Electrical Engineering from IIT Delhi. His Excellency Shri Manu Mahavar is the pillar of support and subsistence for all the Indian schools in Oman. His Excellency never thinks twice to spare his very precious time to inspire and encourage our efforts. His Excellency has carved a special place in the hearts of everyone in the teaching fraternity when, for the first time ever, last year, our ambassador held a virtual interaction with teachers on the occasion of Teachers' Day. We truly look up to him for his humility and commitment. We now request His Excellency, our ambassador, to do the honors. His Excellency will be escorted to the stage by Dr. C.M. Najib, Vice Chairman of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, and Mr. Gajesh Dhariwal, Member of the Academic Subcommittee, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. Principals who have completed 5 years or more in the Indian schooling system in Oman are felicitated on this occasion. It is my pleasure to invite Mr. Reggie Uman, Principal of Indian School Ibra, who is entitled for this recognition, to come and receive the award from His Excellency, the Ambassador. Mr. Reggie Uman joined Indian School Ibra on 22nd December 2014. He has played a pivotal role in shifting the school to its new premises with state-of-the-art facilities for the all-round development of students. It was indeed a glorious moment to hear the announcement of 2 teachers from Indian School Muscat on being conferred the CBSE Best Teacher Award. On behalf of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, we take great pride in honoring first, Mr. P. Escalon Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez is the Vice Principal of the Senior Section in Indian School Muscat. He is passionate, committed, and works extensively for the children with varied education needs. He was the recipient of the Naveen Ashar Kazi Award for Excellence in Teaching 2 years ago. The second awardee in this category is Mr. Venkateshan Karthikeyan. Mr. Karthikeyan is a physical education instructor and sports professional with 32 years of expertise. Apart from being an internationally acclaimed tennis official at the Wimbledon and Olympic Games, he has been instrumental in producing cricket prodigies for Oman and Qatar national cricket teams. We now request Dr. C.M. Najib to present a memento to His Excellency, our Ambassador. May I now invite His Excellency, the Ambassador, to address the gathering.
Thank you. And it's good to be back here, although I'm quite used to seeing this hall full, but I think it's a very commendable effort that the Indian School Gubra and the school system has done in putting together this event. Your Excellency, Abdullah Khamis Ali Ambusaidi, Under Secretary for Education, senior officials of Ministry of Education of Oman, Chairman and members of Board of Directors of Indian Schools in Oman, Shri Kiran Asher, Chairman of Art Committee, members of school management committees, principals, teachers, and dear students. I hope they're all with us virtually. I'm really happy and delighted to join you for this function to honor our teachers for excellence in teaching. This is the first in-person event that you're holding and that I'm attending since the outbreak of COVID. The pandemic, as we all know, has impacted our lives at an unprecedented level. And I would like to compliment the entire team of Indian school system for effectively responding to this pandemic and quickly adapting to the changes, to the changed reality. The Indian schools have taken a number of measures, some of which were mentioned by Chairman in his remarks, since the outbreak of the pandemic, to ensure that imparting of education remained uninterrupted. And even those whose families were facing severe hardship could continue receiving education. I would like to, of course, specifically mention the role of teachers. Their task was the most challenging. And it's truly remarkable how quickly they were able to adapt to the changes required to use technology for content generation and for engaging the students. I had the privilege of interacting with some of you virtually on Teachers' Day. And definitely I look forward to continuing this interaction. But I would like to invite all of you to join me in applauding their efforts by giving them a big round of applause. The embassy in this period also worked very closely with the Board of Directors and with the Government of Oman, particularly Ministry of Education. And I would like to take this opportunity to convey our deep appreciation to the government of Oman, and in particular to the Ministry of Education for the constant support that you have been providing to the Indian school system in Oman. I recall soon after the pandemic broke out, the city was under lockdown. We approached Her Excellency, the Minister of Education, and His Excellency, the Minister of Health, and you gave us special permission to conduct class 10 and class 12 board examinations. And this cooperation has continued, and we deeply appreciate this. The cooperation has been exemplary and in keeping with the strategic partnership relations that India and Oman enjoy. I would also like to take this opportunity to express our deep gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq and the government of Oman for taking very good care of the Indian community during the pandemic. India and Oman have worked very closely during this crisis to deal with healthcare, economic, and other challenges emanating from the pandemic. And we remain committed to continue working very closely together. India's own approach in responding to this crisis is guided by the philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The entire world is one family. We are committed not only to take care of our own people, but also of our friends and partners. I would also like to thank the members of the Indian community and our Omani friends for supporting the embassy's efforts in ensuring the welfare of the Indian community during this pandemic. Tomorrow, we will be celebrating our 72nd Republic Day. Let me take this opportunity to extend warm greetings to all of you. May the new year bring good health, happiness, and prosperity to all of us. I thank the Board of Directors for inviting me to this event. I once again congratulate all the teachers who are being recognized, whose efforts, contributions are being recognized here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your words of encouragement and support are truly appreciated. His Excellency, the Ambassador, will now be escorted to his seat by Dr. C.M. Najib and Mr. Gajesh Dhariwal. Thank you, sir.
The next category of awards is for innovation in teaching. Innovative teaching practices has been encouraged with an objective to sensitize teachers about the potential of innovative practices for improvement of teaching learning methodology. These contribute to active learning and have been successfully implemented in school. To honor the awardees in this category, we request the presence of Dr. Ali Al-Shukaili, Director General of Private Schools, Ministry of Education. Dr. Ali Al-Shukaili holds a PhD in Assessment and Policy Enactment from the University of Leeds, United Kingdom. He began his illustrious career as a teacher of physics. Later on, he was appointed Examinations Officer, and then he went on to head the Analysis and Study section of the Ministry of Education. Dr. Ali Al-Shukaili served as the head of the Examination section before being appointed Assistant Director for Assessment and Evaluation Department. Dr. Ali Al-Shukaili is an educational expert and Assistant Director General for the Muscat Governorate, and presently the Director General of Private Schools in the Ministry of Education. We request Mr. Bhavani Prasad, Finance Director, and Mr. Sirajuddin Nelat, member of the Academic Subcommittee, both from the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, to escort Dr. Ali Al-Shukaili to the stage. The awards for innovation in teaching are given in 5 categories. In the kindergarten section, the recipient of this award is Mrs. Rashmi R. from Indian School, Muscat. Mrs. Rashmi has improvised the whole body learning technique to suit the kindergarten students of Indian School, Muscat. This unique technique incorporates the use of the various parts of the body in the learning procedure and proves helpful for children who have issues with sensory perception and attention. The award for innovation in teaching in the kindergarten section to Mrs. Rashmi R. of Indian School, Muscat. In the primary school category, the award for innovation in teaching goes to Mrs. Ambika Padmanabhan from Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir. Mrs. Ambika has elevated classroom learning for the primary school children of Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir by immersing the subject matter through gameplay. Mrs. Ambika's innovative technique attracts participation of all her students and fills the spirit of competitiveness in their learning environment. Innovation in Teaching Award in Primary School category to Mrs. Ambika Padmanabhan. Moving on to the middle school category, there are 2 teachers who have received the award for innovation in teaching. The first recipient of the award in this category is Mr. Ubaid Ahmed from Indian School, Muscat. Integrating the STEM model as part of regular classroom teaching has been effectively launched by Mr. Ahmed. Fostering creative and critical thinking amid students, Mr. Ubaid enables them to resolve practical challenges in developing science and mathematical models. Award for Innovation in Teaching in the middle school category, Mr. Ubaid Ahmed from Indian School, Muscat. The second awardee in the middle school category is Mrs. Anam Sheikh from Indian School, Sohar. Mrs. Anam of Indian School, Sohar has interestingly introduced virtual and augmented reality tools for the students of the middle school by taking them on virtual tours to experience and concretize the concepts learned. Award for Innovation in Teaching in the middle school category to Mrs. Anam Sheikh of Indian School, Sohar. In the senior school category, the award for innovation in teaching goes to Mrs. Indira Sukumaran from Indian School, Sohar. Mrs. Indira of Indian School Sohar has implemented boundless practical application of mathematics in her classroom. Practical math lab sessions created and presented by the students have enhanced their interest towards learning mathematics and making it a subject of exploration and mastery. Ladies and gentlemen, Innovation in Teaching Award in the senior school to Mrs. Indira Sukumaran of Indian School, Sohar. Moving on to the co-scholastic category, the award for innovation in teaching goes to Mrs. Asha Mohan from Indian School, Al-Wadi Al-Kabir. Mrs. Asha has formulated a style of teaching music by encompassing it with other scholastic subjects. The art of reading rhythmically has evoked the right kind of emotions in children. Her efforts to synchronize musical notes, instrument playing, role play, and dance have helped students to carry themselves with utmost confidence. Innovation in Teaching Award in the co-scholastic category to Mrs. Asha Mohan of Indian School, Al-Wadi Al-Kabir.
The next category of awards is the recognition of meritorious achievements. In addition to the awards for excellence in teaching, teachers are recognized for their meritorious achievements, which include enhancement of educational qualifications with research-oriented studies leading to PhD, receipt of meritorious achievement, recognitions from national or international institutions, publication of research papers in international journals. The awardees for their meritorious achievements are Mr. Rakesh Singh Tomar, Principal, Indian School, Bowsher. Mr. Tomar is not present with us this evening. So moving on to the next awardee in this category. The second awardee in this category, Dr. Lena Francis, Principal, Indian School, Al-Seeb. Dr. Lena Francis is being felicitated for the PhD in Administration from the University of Azteca, Mexico. Dr. Lena has been the principal of Indian School Al-Seeb since 2017. The next awardee in this category, Mr. Hari Krishna Pillai, Head of Department, Physical Education, Indian School, Muscat. Mr. Hari Krishna Pillai has been conferred this recognition for being accredited by the Oman Cricket Club to officiate the ICC Challenge League A and League B tournaments. The next recipient of this award is Mr. Kuldeep Singh, Department of Physical Education, Indian School, Sohar. Mr. Kuldeep Singh is an international technical official in canoeing since 2005 and has officiated a number of national and international canoeing championships and Olympic qualification rounds. Next awardee, Dr. Smita D., Teacher of English, Indian School, Darset. Dr. Smita has been working in Indian School, Darset for nearly 4 years. She has completed her PhD in English Literature from Madurai Kamraj University. May I now request Mr. Bhavani Prasad to present a memento to Dr. Ali Al Shukeli. Thank you, sir. Dr. Ali Al Shukeli will now be escorted to his seat by Mr. Bhavani Prasad and Mr. Sirajuddin Nailat. Thank you, sir.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the grand finale. The much awaited Naveen Ashar Kazi Award for Excellence in Teaching 2020-21. The Naveen Ashar Kazi Award for Excellence in Teaching is awarded in all levels from kindergarten to senior, along with co-scholastic and even the special education categories. The well-deserved winners of this prestigious award will be presented with a certificate and a memento. It's time for the awards to be given out, and to do the honors, we request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, and Mr. Vinoba MP, Education Advisor, to kindly escort our Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Dr. Abdullah Khamis Ali Ambusaidi, Under-Secretary, Ministry of Education, and Mr. Kiran Ashar onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall begin by declaring the awardee in the second position first, followed by the awardee in the first position in each category. I now request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel to announce the name of the awardees. We shall begin with the kindergarten category, the winner in the second position.
In the kindergarten category, the second position goes to Mrs. Charu Osan.
Mrs. Charu Osan believes that knowledge is not just limited to classwork, but to other aspects of the classroom as well. She always ensures that her students feel welcome, comfortable, and safe as individuals. Mrs. Charu Osan. May I request Mr. Kiran Ashar to hand over the certificate to Mrs. Charu Osan. His Excellency has handed over the certificate to Mrs. Charu. You have a memento, ma'am. His Excellency is now awarding Mrs. Charu with a beautiful memento. We now move on to declaring the first position in the kindergarten category.
The first position in the kindergarten category goes to Mrs. Varsha Jaisimha.
Mrs. Varsha Jaisimha believes that learning is focused towards emotional, cognitive, and social development. She makes a conscious effort to ensure that her classes are engaging and interactive through music, imaginative play, and drama. Mrs. Varsha Jaisimha, winner of the Naveen Ashar Kazi Award for Excellence in Teaching in the kindergarten category.
Mention name of the school also. Name of the school. Indian School Wadi Kabir.
Mrs. Varsha Jaisimha is from Indian School Al Wadi Al Kabir. His Excellency will now present the memento to Mrs. Varsha Jaisimha. We shall now move on to the primary category, and I request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel to read the name of the awardee in the second position.
The second position in the primary school category goes to Mrs. Bindu Saji of Indian School Muscat.
Mrs. Bindu Saji from Indian School Muscat believes that value-based education creates rational minds that are sensitive to the environment and the society as a whole. Highly inspired by the Gandhian philosophy, Ms. Bindu focuses on how learning must be given adequate importance in the life of a student. Mrs. Bindu Saji. And now, may I request the chairman to read the name of the winner in the primary category.
In the primary school category, the first position goes to Mrs. Suparna Banerjee of Indian School Muscat.
Mrs. Suparna Banerjee from Indian School Muscat. She believes that every child is a storehouse of talent and best education happens through recursive inquiry, observation, and exploration. Mr. Kiran Ashar presenting the certificate to Mrs. Suparna Banerjee. Mrs. Suparna will now collect her memento from His Excellency.
Moving on to the middle school category. We begin with the winner in the second position. May I request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel to read out the name of the winner in the second position.
In the middle school category, the second position goes to Mrs. Sandhya Prakash of Indian School Rostak.
Mrs. Sandhya Prakash goes by her philosophy that children are unique and have specific learning needs and styles. She ensures that every student is encouraged to be honest and responsible human beings. Mr. Kiran Ashar handing over the certificate to Mrs. Sandhya. His Excellency presenting the memento to Mrs. Sandhya Prakash. May I now request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel to read out the winner of the first position in the middle school category.
The first position goes to Mrs. Jonah Ambrose Anthony of Indian School Muscat.
Mrs. Jonah Ambrose Anthony goes by her vision to encourage students to investigate, collaborate, and create scientific information and aspire to become independent lifelong learners. She believes that students must express and accept themselves for who they are, as well as embrace the differences of others. Mr. Kiran Ashar handing over the certificate to Mrs. Jonah. His Excellency presenting the memento to Mrs. Jonah Ambrose Anthony. Next is the senior category. We begin with the winner in the second position. And to announce the winner in the second position, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel.
The second position goes to Mrs. Soumya Harikrishna of Indian School Muscat.
Mrs. Soumya Hari Krishna encourages students to compete with themselves and makes them realize that there is a life beyond a textbook. She believes that teachers must be ready to learn from their students. Mr. Kiran Usher handing over the certificate to Mrs. Soumya. His Excellency presenting the memento to Mrs. Soumya Hari Krishna. May I now request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel to announce the winner in the first position in the senior category.
The first position in the senior school category goes to Mr. Gangadhar Naik Nalka of Indian School Muscat.
Mr. Gangadhar Naik Nalka's mission is to go beyond teaching textual content and thus become a source of change in the real life of his students. As an educator, he wishes to positively influence his students. Mr. Kiran Usher presenting the certificate to Mr. Naik. His Excellency presents the memento to Mr. Gangadhar Naik. We now move on to the co-scholastic category. First, physical education. May I request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel to announce the winner in this category.
In the co-scholastic physical education category, the award goes to Mr. Ganeshan Marimuthu of Indian School Alseeb.
Mr. Ganeshan Marimuthu goes by his philosophy to promote the spirit of sportsmanship, team spirit, and sociability among students. He believes that each and every child has the potential to bring something unique to the world. Mr. Kiran Usher hands over the certificate to Mr. Ganeshan Marimuthu. His Excellency presents the memento to Mr. Ganeshan Marimuthu. Moving on to the fine arts category. May I request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel to announce the winner in the fine arts category.
In the co-scholastic fine arts category, the award goes to Mr. Savio D'Souza of Indian School Muscat.
As an educator, it gives Mr. Savio D'Souza immense joy and a sense of fulfillment when he sees his students develop their skills to a high level, become independent, lifelong learners, successful in their chosen fields, yet passionate about the art. Mr. Kiran Usher hands over the certificate to Mr. Savio. His Excellency presents the memento to Mr. Savio D'Souza. We now move on to the special education category. And to announce the winner in this category, may I request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel to do the honors.
In the Care and Special Education category, the award goes to Ms. Smita Chandrasekhar of Indian School Salala.
Ms. Smita Chandrasekhar, as a special educator, her inclusive education method is a unique mix of academic learning coupled with everyday life skills. She believes that this method equips every special child to grow with the ability to learn and become a responsible member of society. Ms. Smita receives the certificate from Mr. Kiran Asher. His Excellency presents the memento to Ms. Smita Chandrasekhar. Congratulations to all the well-deserved winners. May I now request Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, Chairman, Board of Directors, to present a memento to the chief guest, His Excellency Dr. Abdullah Khamis Ali Ambusaidi, Under Secretary, Ministry of Education. Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Ahmed Raiz, President of the School Management Committee, Indian School Al Gubra, will present a memento from the host school to His Excellency. May I request Mr. Ahmed Raiz to please come up on stage to do the honors. Thank you, sir. May I request Mr. Vinoba MP to escort the dignitary to their seats. Thank you, sir. We take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to Mr. Al-Azhar Saud Al-Salmi, Assistant Director, International Schools Office, Ministry of Education, for accepting our invitation and having graced this occasion with his invaluable presence. May I request Mr. Vinoba MP, Education Advisor, and Mr. Jaikish Pavitran, Member of the Academic Subcommittee of the Board, to escort Mr. Al-Azhar Saud Al-Salmi, Assistant Director, International Schools Office, Ministry of Education, to the stage. May I invite Mr. Jaikish Pavitran, Member of the Academic Subcommittee of the Board, to present a memento to Mr. Al-Azhar Saud Al-Salmi. Thank you, sir. May I request Mr. Vinoba MP and Mr. Jayakesh Pavitran to escort Mr. Al-Azhar to his seat. Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we invite Mr. Ahmed Rais, President, School Management Committee, Indian School Al Gobra, to propose the vote of thanks. Mr. Ahmed Rais is truly the personal pride of Indian School Al Gobra. His youthful looks, boundless energy, and enthusiasm is reflected in his relentless pursuits towards the betterment of education strategies and reforms. Mr. Rais has spearheaded numerous social activities both in Oman and back in his homeland. He continues to render yeoman services as the president of the DIS Girls High School and the Jamia Hamdard DIS Orphanage. He is a visionary par excellence, and as our principal often denotes, Mr. Rais may live in 2021, but his thoughts, plans, and projects are for 2031. Yes, just a decade ahead. Such is his commitment and devotion to the cause of better education for the children of tomorrow. May I request our principal, Mrs. Papri Ghosh, to please escort Mr. Ahmed Rais onto the stage. Over to you, sir, as you propose the vote of thanks.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Teacher affects eternity. You can never tell when his influence stops. Henry Adams. So this is, Excellency, this is an extension of the poem which he talked about, Ahmad Shukri. He said, "They're prophet." The way Henry Adams saw it was that we don't know when the influence stops. So if I go back the memory lane, this Best Teachers Award was instituted in 2010, generously by S.K. Virmani. 4 years we conducted in the school, and I was very much involved with it, and it was a pleasure to see our teachers being awarded. In 2014, it was passed on to the board of directors, and generously, Kiran Ashar, who was also the chairman of the board of directors, and I had the privilege to work under him, a tremendous, generous person, took over the mantle and continued with it. I had the privilege of working with many luminaries like Virmani, Yusuf Nalwala, Kiran Ashar, Dr. Baby Sam, Alexander, as the chairman of the board of directors. You know, the most beautiful part of this Best Teachers Award is that the children, as a child, there are two important things in a child's life. One is a parent and one is a teacher. Kiran Ashar ji has dedicated this award in the name of his father. And it is given to the most important person, another most important person of a child's life, the teachers. Teachers has done a fabulous job. It's not just the winners which we see today. All the teachers are winners. I remember what my teacher taught me in the 3rd standard and the definition of a gentleman. Sister Flavia, I remember her telling me, the definition of a gentleman is a person who doesn't inflict pain on others. I did meet her a few years earlier. And when I said that, she hugged me and she cried, and I too cried. That's the love a teacher of a school will have on a child. Till death, the teacher doesn't disappear. So what you're doing is a wonderful thing and a fabulous thing. Now, talking about the Ministry of Education, sir, I have a long relationship with the ministry. ministry has given unstinted support to the Indian school system. Today we have children in Harvard, Purdue, Carnegie, you name the universities in the world, including fabulous universities. That is because of the Indian school system has been successful. And that's thanks to the Ministry of Education and its wonderful officers which had worked with us hand in together and made it happen. So we are quite indebted to you, sir, Dr. Ali, Azhar, everybody. I can name a lot of people who have helped us to make the school what it is today. So from the bottom of our heart, on behalf of the board, on behalf of all the Indian schools, all the students, all the teachers, and all the parents, I would like to say a big thank you, sir. And your presence here was an inspiration. Now, talking about the Indian Embassy, sir, the COVID time, we all went through difficult time. Excellency, the ambassador took the leadership in a very exemplary way. He did a phenomenal job in ensuring not just the Indian community, the whole community, everybody had a safe and healthy time. We have no words in thanking His Excellency for making his presence felt here, and as well as his exemplary job to the Indian community, as well as the community in general. I would like to thank Kiran Asherji for his generosity in conducting the Best Teachers Award. As we said, one of the most important things in a person's life is his children. And if the children have to be taken care of, the most valuable person, and that's the teachers. And the most valuable teachers has been awarded by or recognized by Kiran Asherji's generosity. I would like to thank you, sir, for that. I would like to thank you, all of you being here, especially the teachers. You're wonderful, you're great. Please keep going in the positive influence to our child. And probably when they're 60, 70 years old, they can still remember you as you are my teacher. Thank you very much, sir. And please join us for a high tea after this in the new building. Thank you very much, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we now request you to kindly rise as the dignitaries are escorted outside. Kindly remain standing until all our distinguished dignitaries leave the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned as we continue the evening's program. Streaming live for you, glimpses of the Best Teachers Award over the years. A scintillating, theme-based dance performance by the students of Indian School Al-Kubra International. This will be followed by the much-awaited keynote address by Madam Andrea Ziffarov. Stay tuned. the light of the world, the beacon in the dark, and the hope that gives us strength to survive is the teacher. Teachers spearhead change by shaping and building students' personality and make them ideal citizens of the nation. All the little things teachers do aren't really little things. There are lots of reasons to be thankful for teachers. Their support, their kindness, their ability to teach children, and of course, their dedication. A teacher affects eternity and brings out the best in a student. Teachers can change lives with just the right mix of chalk and challenges. In the honor of their respected teachers, the students of Indian School Al Gubra International proudly presents a classical fusion dance, Guruve Namaha.
You showed us the light. You taught us to smile. You taught us to give and the right way to live. We have never thanked you enough for being what you are and carving us as what we should be. Guruve Namaha.
ज्ञानप्रदाय गुरवे नमः। रीश्वरनन्दितश्रुतितत्त्वाय गुरवे नमः। गमगधीभावरसलसिताय गुरवे नमः। मम विधिं रागनरहरिं तं सद्गुरुं नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात्
Good evening, everyone. I'm very honored and privileged to be the one to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Andrea Zafirakou, who's present with us virtually all the way from UK. Welcome, Andrea.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you,
Good
dear.
evening. Lovely to be here. Hello to Principal Patrick.
This is your introduction, Andrea.
Wonderful.
We have before you Andrea Zafirakou, the 2018 winner of the Global Teacher Prize. She beat teachers from 170 countries to win this award. She's a teacher, like all of us, at Alperton Community School, a secondary school academy in Brent in the UK. She was working as an art and textiles teacher, and as a member of the senior leadership team, Andrea redesigned the curriculum across all subjects from scratch, carefully working alongside other teachers to have it resonate with her pupils. Thanks to her efforts, Alperton is now in the top 1 to 5% of the country in terms of qualifications and accreditations. You know, there's one quotation of Andrea which definitely resonates with me, as it would with all those in the teaching fraternity. She says, "There is no other job like being a teacher. In what other profession are you selfless and completely devoted to creating the right opportunities for another person to achieve? Being in a classroom and watching a student have an idea and transform it into a formidable outcome is so satisfying, and it fulfills me." Now, this selfless person, Andrea, is here before me, and I call her selfless because what moved me a lot was that she used her prize money and founded a charity called Artists in Residence with an aim to improve art education in schools. That is what a true teacher is, truly selfless. And I want to say this personally to all of you. I have been conversing with her because of this Best Teachers Award. And what has come across to me is she's such a positive person. I mean, even talking to her virtually, the positivity comes across to me. Each time I have finished a conversation with her and felt so good about myself, felt so grateful that I'm a teacher and I have had an interaction with this wonderful teacher. Andrea, absolute pleasure to have you here at the Best Teachers Award. And I'm sure there are many, many, many teachers from the Indian school community who are listening to you now, who will listen to you, get inspired. Please, over to you, Andrea. Welcome, welcome to our Best Teacher Award ceremony. And I hope someday I would be saying to you, welcome to Oman also. You've promised me that you're going to be here. So that would be an absolute pleasure. So over to you, Andrea. Everybody is waiting to listen to you.
Oh, wonderful. It's just such an honor to be here. Hello, colleagues, and Principal Patfrey. You always make me smile with your generosity. I'm so honored. Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know what to say apart from it's absolutely wonderful to be here with you today and to share with you something which is so personal, so beautiful. And that's just the moment that we can celebrate our teachers, celebrate each other. Today in London, it's freezing. We have snow outside, and it's 3:45 in the afternoon. I'm just waiting for the sun to go down, but I'm feeling warmth. I'm feeling energized just by watching that ceremony and hearing and seeing all those wonderful testimonials from our colleagues. So thank you so much for enabling me to be part of your incredible awards this evening. I wanted to take you on a journey, if you may, if you permit me to, and this is a journey on how I became the global teacher, but also what I think most importantly, what drives me, what is so important that unites us all about our incredible profession. So I'm calling this presentation The Heart of an Educator. And it all started, I'd say, and I think I became known in March the 23rd, 2018, and that was the day that my life changed in the most wonderful way, the most terrifying way, but the most also exquisite way, and that's when I won the Global Teacher Prize. And this day for me, and what the prize meant for me is kindness. And the reason I say kindness is because I didn't apply for this award. I didn't apply myself. My friend that I worked with 6 years ago nominated me, and she called me and said, "Andrea, I'm going to nominate you for an award. It's a new award that's been around for 3 years." And I said, "Don't be silly. No, I'm too scared. I'm too frightened. Please don't do that for me." And then she goes, no. This is definitely you, and I want to put you through, and let's see what happens. And so from her kindness, her single act of generosity of noticing me and my potential and who I was and what I did in the classroom, and all of this I couldn't recognize because we never do. We never see what we create in our worlds, do we? She nominated me, and incredibly, I was standing on a stage with these other 9 colleagues. Now, these other 9 colleagues are from all over the world. They were in the top 10 with me. We have colleagues who, Eddie Wu there, right on the left-hand side, he filmed all of his maths lessons so that his students can watch on YouTube. He called it WooTube, and as a result of that, he had something like 5 million subscribers watching him teach. And so the accessibility that he produced. You have at the back, you have Ken Lee, and he is a robotics teacher in Hawaii, and he made sure that all his students could access robotics. And as a result, he took them around the world winning competitions. So from the small island of Hawaii, he created incredible memories for his students. We've got Cohen at the back, and Cohen was fundraising to provide solar powers so that students in the remote area of Africa can have access to electricity. I mean, these are incredible practitioners. And then me, and then I won it. And who am I? I am a teacher. I'm an art teacher in a very wonderful community school called Alperton, and we're in Brent. I'm in an inner London school, and that for me was what was so surprising. The fact that, number one, an arts subject won, and a teacher who represented the arts and how important the arts and how life transforming the arts are, won this award. And because of this, it's not just my life that's changed, it's all my teachers and our young people's lives that have changed in front of us. So a little bit about my school. We are located in the London Borough of Brent. It's inner city London. We have on my roll 1,600 students, 99% English as additional language, so they speak another language. We have 1% of our students is white British population, so very, very, very diverse, very multicultural, but also, unfortunately, as we know, in many of these inner city schools, there's lots of problems in terms of socioeconomic pressures which our family are affected by. And in light of COVID, I know it's just to give you some stats that my borough has always had since the beginning of the pandemic one of the highest death rates because of the densely packed population and the poverty that exists there. But I love showing this piece of work. I mean, this photograph, it is my favorite photograph. And the reason why is because it makes me reflect on the joy of just being with my students. And I know that many of us are not with our students and we're teaching in a very strange way, a way which we never thought would ever be possible for this amount of time, a way that's really pushed us and made us think hard, move us out of our comfort box in a way which is not necessarily comfort to us. So I wanted to talk to you about the power of our classrooms. And it doesn't matter if they are real classrooms, as in physical classrooms, but also the classrooms that we create as practitioners. And what is it that we want to make in our powerful classrooms? Who is it that we want to make in our powerful classrooms? And the responsibilities and the pressures that we have to make sure that we make incredible young people in our classrooms. But for me, I think the teacher for me has always been my students. And I've become a teacher and a better teacher because of what I've learned from my young people. And I wanted to talk to you a little about some stories of my young people, if I may. So in front of you, there's a piece of work from a student of mine called Raf, and he was a student who came to my school when he was in year 9. So he only had 2 years before he sat his GCSEs, but he came from a special school, and in that school he was selected mute and he had dyslexia as well. And his parents wanted him to move to mainstream because they wanted him to go and you know, I don't want to insult anyone, but it was a normal school. And so he came with a small group of students, another small from his cohort from his school. He came into my art class, and he was traumatized. He was so scared because he'd never been in a classroom with this many students before. And as a young teacher at that time, I didn't know how to teach somebody with all these different types of educational, special educational labels and challenges. And I remember he came in and he sat in the corner, his eyes was down, he was just was locked on the ground, and his body language was closed like this. And then I said, come in, Raf, come and sit down here. Here's a space for you. Just relax, sit down. We're drawing a still life. Don't worry if you can't draw. Here's a piece of paper. Just in your own time, give it a go. And it was 45 minutes until the end of the lesson. I just kept on looking up and seeing his way, but Raf didn't do anything for me that lesson. He was terrified. His hands were locked into place, head down, and it was a very, very uncomfortable, nerve-wracking experience for him. At the end of the lesson, I set the homework, and I set the homework to say to them all, I'd like you to draw for me an object that you love. So go home, do some observational drawing of an object that you love, and next lesson, I'd like you to bring it in for me. So that was that. I left the lesson, didn't think anything of it. And then the next lesson, I went around to collect all the homework for my students. I went to see Raf, and then Raf shook his head. He didn't have any homework, and so I thought I'll leave that. And then at the end of the lesson, as the class were being dismissed, he came up from the corner of my eye as I was speaking to another student. I saw him take a piece of paper and gently place it onto my desk and then head for the door. And as a teacher, I did one of those kind of double takes, and I saw what he created. And it was the most beautiful, accomplished drawing of a guitar. And I wish I had that picture to show to you. Unfortunately, I don't, but it was a guitar that he probably drew from the internet, but it was beautiful. It was a sensitive drawing. It must have taken him ages. And it was, you know, as many of my students, you know, wherever they find resources, so he probably ripped it out from another piece of another exercise book he had, but it was incredible. And I screamed, and I was like, stop, Raf! And the poor guy almost wet himself because that's how much I scared him. And I went up to him with this piece of gold that he did for me. And I said to him, Raf, did you do this? And then he didn't say anything. And I go, Raf, please, did you do this? And for the first time, I saw his beautiful blue, grayish eyes look at me. And then he nodded. And that was it. I knew my purpose. This child was going to do incredibly well at art. I was going to make sure that we got him a GCSE. We're going to defy all the odds. We're going to get this child a GCSE. And so for the next month or so, that poor child, I put him through hell. I made sure that I harassed him, that I challenged him. I said, no, I want more, I want better. I want you to do this for me now. Brilliant. Now move on to here. Get out your comfort zone. We really worked hard with Raf. And as a result of that, what was beautiful was that on his GCSE day, on the results day, he came up to me with his mum, glowing, beaming, and his mum was in tears. She said to me, Miss Aferaku, you know, this is a beautiful, beautiful moment. My son has got a grade D for GCSE, a grade D. And my face dropped. Then they were like, oh, Miss Wasserman, are you not happy for me? And I said, no, Raf, because you should have got a C. You were 3 points away from a C, and I'm really upset you didn't get that. And if you were staying in the school. Anyway, Raf was delighted. And so I went home and I was really motivated. I thought, right, I want Raf to do an A-level. I know it's going to be hard. I know he's going to struggle. He will get stressed, but I really want him to do something amazing for himself because he has this incredible talent. So I went to see my head teacher, and I really feel sorry for my head teacher, my principal, because he really tolerates me well, and he tolerates my passion, my Greekness, my fieriness so well. And he said to me, do you promise that you will get him a GCSE grade, an A-level grade? Do you promise that? And I said, look, leave it with me. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that he doesn't fail, that he doesn't suffer, that we get him an A-level grade. And 2 years later, my dear colleagues, in front of you is his A-level self-portrait, which he did, which was a representation of Escher and Picasso's work. And he got a grade A for his A-level work. And I can't tell you how, I think that was one of the best days of my life. That there's the fact that against every single odd, this child got an incredible GCSE. He never got anything else, no maths, no English. It was far too challenging, but he got a grade D for GCSE and a grade A for art A-level. But what's also really helped, and what also I've noticed, is that Raf is confident now. He used to come into my classes when he had a free period. He used to go and help the younger kids. He used to go and show them how to shade, how to add tone. They used to go up to him because he was super cool with his portfolio going around, and he was an art student, super cool art student. And he was confident. He was from that shy boy who would always look down into this, blossomed into this incredible, confident character who owned the subject art. And then, unfortunately, there's other students who teach us so much more. And these students are the ones who, through art, have communicated the words help. And I want to talk to you about this student called Rima. And Rima was a student of mine, I'd say about 10 years ago now. And this was her GCSE final piece. And Rima was one of those ghosts, those quiet students who would never, ever dare hand in anything late for homework. She'd always do her work on time, brilliant work, would not talk, would not raise her hand, would not participate because she was shy. Her results were fantastic across the board, a wonderful, wonderful young girl. And she produced this piece of work for her artwork, for her A-level art, for her GCSE exam final piece. I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, this is just fantastic, but this is not Rina. Rina doesn't, this can't be Rina. This doesn't represent her sketchbook, her build-up, her coursework relates nothing to this piece of work. And so I spoke to my head of department and I asked him, guess whose work this is? And when I said it's Rina's, he's like, no, oh no, this is amazing, but it's not this. There's no story, there's no journey from her preparatory work into her A-level piece, into her GCSE piece. So we had a huge dilemma. And something was not right with me. And I just thought, I'm going to call her in. I just need to find out what's going on. So we called her in to come and speak to us. And she came in and I said, come in, Rena, come in. You're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. Don't worry. Just come and sit down. It's myself and Mr. And my colleague all sitting there. I go, look, it's about your exam piece. And Rena, what's going on? Those were the simple words I said to her. Rena, what is going on? And then I could see the tales that we all know. I could see her pulling down her sleeves to cover her cuts, her body just closed, eyes down. And then she confessed that she was going through some really difficult situations at home. There was an arranged marriage that was due for her in 3 weeks' time, and she didn't want to go and get married. She was only 16. She wanted to be a nurse, and as a result of that, she was self-harming. And so with this information, we managed to put systems in place. But for me, I think that this piece of artwork saved her life. You know, she was communicating to us the pain, the distress, the fact that she wanted to be ugly, because if she was ugly, then she wouldn't be married. So, you know, for me, this was another story that I always have to look and sometimes listen with my eyes and make sure that not just am I teaching, but I'm seeing what's in front of me and what is behind all those layers that our students so cleverly place. And so I'm sure that we've all been reflecting, and I saw this on social media last year, and I was looking at the importance of teachers and what we do, and this broke my heart, because it seems to me that not only this year have we had the added stress of trying to teach online virtually, but also all this other information that we have to do, the responsibility for public health and making sure that our children are immunized and safe and well, and our parents' fears of, will my child do well? What will happen if they don't do their examinations? Our own personal anxiety, the fact that we feel guilty that we could be doing more, that we could probably try something different, that our children are probably not making as much progress. And also the fact that we can't really see an end to this from where we're sitting. And that's the challenges that we've had this last year, but also unfortunately going into this year. So let's look into those challenges and let's just see what we've had to deal with. So first of all, for me, my environment is different, you know, and I think that's been the most painful thing. I've had, you know, I love my art room. I love the smell of the paints and the, you know, the mess and the chaos that sometimes, and the fact that I know where my resource is. And, you know, I miss that incredible room, which is my magic room. That's where my students grow and create their amazing artwork. That's our room. And I miss that, because now I'm teaching through this screen and it's frustrating. We can see now very clearly the inequalities that exist in our communities, and we can also see very clearly and note very clearly the progress that our students are and are not making. And that's the thing that's been hitting us quite a lot, the fact that maybe this way of working means that our students are not making as much progress as they would normally be making at this time in school. I don't know about you, but I don't think I will ever adapt to teaching at a screen. You know, when I do sometimes go into my school just to get a piece of quiet from being at home homeschooling, and I teach there. And although a school should never be empty and should be full of students, just probably being in that environment does help me a little bit. But yeah, it does make me think about my pedagogy and teaching at a blank screen. The quality of lessons, maybe they're not what we normally would have done. And the fact that our skill sets are being pushed, and maybe we're not ready to adapt. And if you think about it, and I reflected on this last week, you know, we've been trained to teach in one particular building system, and then it's almost like you've been picked up and then put down into another environment and expected that to carry on as normal. I mean, is that right? I don't know. So I think there's just lots and lots of questions that have been asked and raised, and reflections and changes that could be done. I miss my students, the relationship I have with my young people, but also my colleagues. You know, just seeing them in the staff room, the photocopier, checking in on them checking in on me. I think that's what I miss a lot. I sometimes find it quite challenging to be motivated to teach at a screen for 6 hours a day. And I think that's something that affects me quite a lot. And also I worry that I'm losing them on the other end. So I'm trying to be energetic and plan well and smiley, but then sometimes I'm just feeling, you know, I'm doing this and I'm worn out, and do they notice? Are they there still with me? And obviously many of us are homeschooling as well, so as we're teaching our wonderful students, we've also got our children in the background studying, learning. So it's a very strange world. So why do we do it? Why do we carry on? And I think this is the most beautiful thought that exists. The fact that, yes, engineers make bridges, artists make paintings, scientists make the rockets, but teachers make them all. We make them all, my colleagues. We make every single one of them. We plant that seed, we grow that seed, we nourish that seed, we watch it grow, and then we see what happens afterwards and see if it bears fruit or not. But that's what we do, and that's our privilege and joy to have that responsibility. And again, then I reflected on, well, you know, if our students are struggling in this particular way, maybe we need to reflect on how we teach, on what we teach, and maybe the quality of the teacher practice. And this really inspired me. So I found this quote from Twitter, and it says, the 21st century kids are being taught by 20th century adults using 19th century curriculum and techniques on an 18th century calendar. Well, there you go. That more or less sums up the models that have existed and are existing in our world. So something to reflect on. However, the opportunities that have been created. So, you know, what are the great things that have come out from this pandemic? And oh my God, there are some great things. And I think the thing which I've found out is how everyone now, whoever they are, understands and values the importance of the teacher, especially when they have their own children at home. They understand how hard we work. They understand what we do, that actually countries can't function if teachers aren't teaching. And I think that's really important for you, just to be quiet and reflect. You are so valued. You may not feel it, you may not hear it, but you are. And something which I heard our last speaker say, and I made a note of it because it really affected me. In the award ceremony, somebody said, "Till death the teacher does not leave." And that's right. We say things that they keep with them forever. And I think that's vital for us to all celebrate, regardless where you are in the world. Just celebrate that, teachers. And I mean, you're amazing people. But something else which I thought, and I really reflected on, is the fact that actually, you know, I'm learning new skills, and I'm being pushed out of my comfort zone, and I'm enjoying learning. And although my pedagogy, so what I used to do in my classroom, I don't know, 15 years ago, I can't do that now in front of the computer. I've really had to think and adapt and to almost challenge. How can I do this? How can I create a really visually engaging lesson where they're participating, where they're jumping out of their seats, where they're feeling that creative energy in an hour online? Can I do that? And that really has helped me to think about and reflect about my pedagogy. And we're going to talk about some techniques in a bit. Sharing is caring. Oh my God, the amount of free resources that have been flooding the internet from colleagues. Everyone's sharing some top tips. And if you're not looking and networking with other teachers, why not? You must start building networks and sharing resources and saying, what are you doing? What have you learned? What new technique? What tool have you learned? And I thought that's been really important. Hence my upskilling, hence my development of my CPD. But I think something else that we hopefully can feel that there's an opportunity to establish and grow is maybe reflect on our curriculum and assessments. So if teaching and learning in the school environment, in the school building environment has changed, then your curriculum and assessment on online has got to change. We can't take one model that works in one environment and place it into another environment and assume it's all going to work. It won't. And we know that. So maybe there's an opportunity here. And the opportunity for global conversations. Hi, I'm here. You're there. I'm, you know, this would have been a challenge to organize, but it's been wonderful being able to share good practice with people all over the world. Industry, I thought this was quite unique because I wanted industry to really speak out now and say, right, okay, we need for the next 10 years, for our countries to profit, we need to have scientists, we need to have artists, we need to have creatives enroll. Hence, your curriculums have got to be science, maths, creative, rich. What is it that our industries need? And we need to now go back, check our curriculums to make sure that our students have got opportunities for the future. And finally, the importance of creativity. And before this call, before speaking to you this evening, I was, in the morning, I was meeting with Adobe, one of the chief execs from Adobe, and they mentioned to me that since lockdown, their sales have gone up through the roof because of people going straight to creativity, finding ways of expressing themselves. And this has been their go-to for healing purposes. So I'm just going to pause for 10 seconds and ask, are you also with me? And I'm hoping you're all saying, yeah, in your living room.
We're all with you, Andrea. Every word that you say is resonating with the teacher.
Oh,
because you feel everything that you're saying is so true. They're going through the same things.
Well,
thank you very much.
No, it's our world, isn't it? This is our world. We may be teachers in our countries, but we're doing the same thing across the world, and that's what's important.
And it's very comforting to know that somebody is going through the same process.
Absolutely.
I think that's where sharing helps. You feel, okay, I'm not the only one going through this. And I'm sure that's what's resonating through all my colleagues.
No, and it's and even the world's best teacher, which I am, I'm struggling. You know, this is not a great world. This is not my perfect climate. But we are good. We are the best thing that we are as teachers, and the importance of teachers, that we adapt. We can problem solve, and that's our superhuman power. I think the fact that we can problem solve and we think, right, that didn't work. How can we make it better? And that's something that we're across the world we're excellent at. So just to reflect on this question here, and I get asked this quite a lot. So who is a teacher that is needed today for tomorrow, for the world tomorrow? And my ingredients have not changed. These are the 4 key things which I think will make such a difference to your careers as teachers, and which I think are part of my DNA. So first of all, the power of relationships with your young people, making sure that you know them, they know you, that you go out of your way to see what's happening. Relationship with their parents, the fact that it's not just the teacher's responsibility to get the grades, but it's also part of the parents' responsibility as well. So are we building these partnerships? And relationship with other schools, other teachers, grow your network, people. You will really feel you'll really feel comforted knowing that there's people out there who you will learn from and share with. And the second one is the joy of learning. And more importantly, has this resonated for me, the joy of learning in terms of, do I want to be taught by me? Do I want to be taught by somebody who is like me? What a powerful question. Are your lessons part of you? Do you show your joy of learning? What was your favorite day that you ever had in school? Was it the day you went on a trip, or you created something with your best friend? Are we doing that? Are we trying to do that in our lessons today? If not, what is preventing us? So it's just keeping that joy of learning. And I think one of the colleagues, I think it was Mr. D'Souza, the PE teacher, he said through his speech that he wanted his students to have that lifelong learning, that love of learning, and this is where it comes from. Kindness, Kindness is not just about being nice to people, but it could be being mean to be kind. So just making sure that you do express and you are patient with your young people. That's if they're coming late, why is it they're coming late? And I'll never forget a story. I'm going to quickly share this with you now because I know I talk forever. One of a young teacher that we had in our school, one of our boys who went to his lesson late was chucked out immediately, and this boy was so vulnerable. I mean, just the fact that he came into school every day is a miracle, because his mum was on drugs and his stepfather was very abusive, and I think the only sanctuary he had was school. So when he came in, I celebrated. I was like, oh my God, you're in, brilliant, okay. Where's your pen? Where's your pencil? Right, have you had something to eat? Have you had, right, let me quickly go and get you a croissant from the chef. Right, okay, you're ready. Just tuck in your shirt. He went into this class with this new teacher, and that teacher just went mad. Why are you late? And I was just like, oh my God, if only he knew what this poor boy had to deal with just to get up and come into school. That for him is a miracle. And that's for me is kindness, just remembering, using your emotional intelligence, that sometimes there is things that are more important than being on time and having your shirt tucked in, just be kind. And high expectations is the one. And this is really powerful. Colleagues, we are not the teachers who will ever settle for, well, he comes from that family, therefore that family won't achieve, so let's not bother. No, we don't, that's not us. We must have high expectations of our young people. We are going to push them. We're going to make sure that they are resilient, because that's what they need. The world in the future is going to be tough. It's going to be very different. We can't predict anything at the moment. So we need to make sure they have every single tool and strategy, that they experience everything. They've got a toolkit full of everything which they need for them to go out and be successful. And sometimes that is, again, being cruel to be kind, being mean to be kind, whereby we constantly have that high expectation. This is not good enough, redo. I think you can improve on that. Bring it back again. No, I want to see it better. Challenge them. Because if we don't, nobody else will. And so my top tips and tricks for the great teacher of the world. Do you know what? I'm not an expert, and I'm the first person to say that. And I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly developing. And even yesterday on a Sunday, I went on a conference for teaching, because this is our new world. I don't know if you've seen this now, but it's hilarious. I love this image so much because it's real. So next to me, my table buddy in my house, so sitting next to me every day is my 10-year-old. And when I'm having a look at her online learning, that's exactly what happens in their primary school. It's just crazy and chaotic. And I don't know how primary teachers do it. I think you guys are incredible. And then on the bottom of the screen, you have my world, whereby I feel like they're all there, but they're so quiet and shy and isolated. So I'm sometimes saying, can someone please respond? So it's a very strange world, So I put it down to the 4 very simple things that we need to change now and improve now if we're going to have any difference. And that's the learning environment planning, assessment for learning, AFL assessment for learning, and also making sure that practice and retrieval systems are in place. So I'm going to go quickly because I'm sure I'm out of time. So for the learning environment, this is making sure that you're providing a good atmosphere for learning. And that comes down to you. Are you okay? Have you slept the night before? Have you had a good dinner? Have you rested? Are you in the right frame of mind? Because we need to make sure that regardless of kids, when they come to us, we are there beaming, smiling, welcome. And just to kind of nip things in the bud, focus on the things which they are doing badly at home and fix it. If they can't upload, if they've got a technique wrong, just stop the lesson, focus until they get it right, so that everyone, you're convinced that from that moment on, they will improve. The others are quite obviously, but again, guys, praise. You are changing lives when you are praising, and you are changing lives when you take 5 minutes from your day, pick up the phone and call a parent and say, do you know what? Your son was wonderful today. He did a fantastic piece of work in my lesson. you have no idea how powerful that compliment is, and how much that child will benefit, because that parent has just glown. I've just, they've just had their day made. That, oh my God, I've had a phone call from your teacher. You're doing brilliantly. Thank you for that. And that child there is happy. You've got him. He will never let you down now. So it's amazing. If you haven't seen this white sheet, people, please download it. It's called the 5-Minute Lesson Plan. It's from a colleague, an incredible teacher colleague called Ross McGill at Teacher Toolkit. I think that's his tag name, at Teacher Toolkit. This was the thing which I think supported me from my lessons since being a newly qualified teacher. It's a 5-minute how to plan a lesson, and nothing has changed in terms of what to do here when you're online learning, making sure that things are clear, there's sequences, that we have assessment for learning, that we differentiate, that we make sure that our SEND learners are benefiting just as well as all other learners. And something which I think is really important is that we chunk, and I don't know if you know what the word chunking is, but just break things down, just break down the learning, stop, check in, stop, check in, smaller bite-sized parts of learning, okay? Assessment for learning. So this is the asking of the questions. I think predominantly questioning is the best, in my opinion, way of assessing for learning. But try not to, and I'll leave this on the screen for you to either get your cameras out and take a picture, or you can just quickly read whilst I'm talking, but try not to do the who can. So who can tell me? Instead of that, ask a question. So I'd like to know what year Ronald Reagan became president of the United States, John. And in that way, everyone is paying attention. Yeah, so simple, and that's called cold calling. So I'll leave that there for you. And I'm nearly there. I promise I'm nearly there. Just bear with me just for 3 more minutes whilst we come to the end. And the last technique that I want to share with you, I'm hoping that we can push, is this one here. It's called, it's the idea of the forgetting curve. And this means that when we are taught something, after 20 minutes, we only remember 58%. So, and after a month, we only remember 21%. So you're sitting there planning and planning and planning these amazing lessons, but after a month, only 21% of students will remember them. Strange that, isn't it? So we must make time in our lessons to go back and do memory checks or retrieval practices. And I just put some of these tips here. Please go ahead and snap away a photograph on your phones. But just making sure that we always, weekly and monthly reviews, we incorporate them to check that students have learned what you taught them 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We give them independent practice time to go over their work. And it's okay not to talk and just to let them work. That's fine. They need that. Making sure there's lots of quizzes and games and word searches and card sorts and true and false, making sure that we are constantly quizzing them is a really good way of getting them to remember and retrieve their learning. And then finally, and you're all like, hooray, she's almost finished. And yes, I am almost finished. But I'm really hoping that my presentation has done 2 things really. First of all, it's remind you how absolutely awesome you are, and how, regardless that you do not know that you are appreciated, you are, and you are very, very important. And the other thing I hope it's done is just giving you a little bit of, I call it your va-va-voom, your energy, just to kind of take you through for the next few months, and to inspire you a little bit, because at the end of the day, and this is why I'd love to kind of reflecting on this piece of artwork by Bob and Roberta. He said on there, no one makes art quite like you. But if I can just be really naughty and move the word art away and put in there people, I'd say, because no one makes people quite like you. My colleagues, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I think I could listen to you forever. And I think, the tips that you have given today are absolutely, absolutely so apt. It's going to be very, very helpful for each teacher including me. I've been taking down notes, by the way.
Oh, wow. Thank you. No, it's.
I just need to say, like, when you were talking about the experiences with your students, like Ralph, and even the girl who was,
Yeah.
hurting herself because she was going to get married, and that wonderful piece of art that she created, and you were able to read more into it. I think all my colleagues in the Indian school systems, they would have a story to tell, because they're all very committed teachers and they have had years of experience, some very new teachers also who are very good at it. Now, I just want a little question to you, put a little question across to you. Do you think training is very essential and professional development is very necessary for a teacher? Is that a thing, or is it something that, you have it within you? If you have the passion and the commitment, you could make a good teacher. Or is the training more important? Or is it over the years you pick up the nuances? Question to you.
That's a really interesting one. I was born a teacher without any doubt. I think it was, I know that because my mother used to complain when she used to come back from my teacher interviews when I was about 8, and apparently I was so bossy I used to tell my teachers how to teach. So I knew I was going to be a teacher. But I also think you can't underestimate good pedagogy and good ways of teaching. And I think what helps is, yes, we can connect with people. So good teachers connect. We have that kind of human magnet spirit that people just come to us. But also the training is really important. But Principal Patpri, it's not just the training at the beginning of your career. You have to carry on learning. You've got to upskill constantly. I mean, because our young people are changing. The way they are learning is different, and we need to make sure that we're up to scratch with that too. Fascinating question, but I think the survivors of teaching are the ones who do have that DNA. But saying that, I think, yeah, you can't underestimate the value of a very good teacher training practice.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Andrea, there's one more thing. See, you got this prize money, which you used for something which was for a very good cause. Now, I'm not sure whether this is a biased judgment, but I feel that people are becoming very self-centered. So what should I say? Something that I say constantly to the children is respect differences and develop empathy for people. I mean, this is like a constant thing that I keep saying in school to the children, hoping that somewhere it hits the mark. Now, what I want to ask you is this philanthropic nature of yours, was that something that was innate in you, or is that something that you did on the spurt of the moment, or is it the teacher in you that surfaced? Because the teacher is a very selfless person.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. I think there's two reasons really. Number one, I still feel very uncomfortable with that label, the world's best teacher. I am a great teacher in my school because I have the environment, I have my colleagues who have supported me to be good at what I do. So I don't think this award is about me. I think it's about celebrating my community. And another reason why I did this was because of my complete frustration and anger that many young people in my school community, but also in areas across London, across the UK, who were not getting a great artistic experience because of their financial background. So for me, creating opportunities for artists to work with young people is gold. It's just such a beautiful moment. And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just affluent families who can provide this and can provide the arts for their students, but it's students in those deprived areas, because these are the ones who I think the arts will really help and heal a lot.
Your story definitely proves that learning art can not only be enriching, but it is also uplifting. But I have the same view as you, that people are not studying art enough. And I feel art, actually, creativity and art is something that should be encouraged. And I'm so glad you used your prize money for that, because I see the lack of that also in our schooling systems. There is a kind of, what should I say, a stepmotherly attitude towards the arts. Don't ask me why, but I think the concentration is more on the sciences.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not too sure because industry demands that, but I think creativity makes you a better person. I'm not too sure if people will judge me for saying that.
And you're right with that, because that's been, to be honest, that's been my personal challenge. My parents didn't want me to study GCSE art because they thought that there would be no jobs, and I should be a doctor or a lawyer. And this is like the migrant's wish of going and getting a better life for your children. And it's what we put in front of our young people, the fact that scientists and doctors earn money and they're highly respected people, but we don't say that about artists or designers who probably earn some cases more, you know, and that's my biggest, because that's what I was trying to change and challenge. It's the perception.
One more tip that you gave the teachers is about praise, but I have a little anecdote to share with you. See, in our school, we have this thing which we call the school diary or the school calendar, where you can write remarks. You know, the tendency is to write the negative remarks. And these diaries would go missing. They would constantly go missing, and the children would come with money from the parents to buy a new one. Because then the remarks are missing, you see. Along with the diary, the new diary does not have the negative remarks. So I changed my strategy. At a staff meeting, I told my colleagues, now you start writing good things about them. The diary stopped going missing. I just wanted to share this with you. I thought this would resonate with you.
Absolutely, it makes sense, doesn't it?
I had to tell this to you. And when you say, you know, what is it that makes you a teacher? I realize sometimes, you know, when on a winter day morning, we start school here at 7. And sometimes it's dark and it's cold, not as cold as England, definitely. It's 17 now in the evening, so you can imagine, which must be awesome for you. And sometimes I think in the morning, what am I doing? I could have been one of these, you know, leisurely housewives drinking tea at 10 o'clock in the morning, read the newspaper. Why am I going to school so early in the morning? I could have been doing such wonderful things as a housewife. The moment you get down and the first child wishes you finished, I have the spring in my step. And I think that is it, what changes us. We actually, it's the children who motivate us. And I think it's the first child who wishes me in the morning and I'm all perked up and you know, ready to go. So I think, you know, that is what a teacher is all about. I think it is the commitment, it is the energy level which rises. I saw my colleagues who came back to school after such a long time just to hand in their papers to the students. They said it feels so good to be back here, you know. So almost like coming back home.
Yeah, it's home.
And I think, as you rightly said, that COVID has made us, you know, appreciate school more. Whether it's the parents, whether it is my colleagues, whether it is the students, I think. However, as you rightly said, there are challenges. I've been talking to the school counselor, and he has been telling me that some children have turned into beavers. They, as you said, they don't want to be seen, they don't want to be heard. They have just gone into a little shell. And I think these are the challenges that we will face in a post-COVID era. We have to do new things to get these children to back where they were. And I think that was one of the questions that were sent by one of the principals of the schools here, Mrs. Sanchita Verma of Indian School Suhar, who said, what are the skills required for post-COVID education? Reskilling, upskilling that would be required by school teachers as well as school leaders. And I promise that is going to be my last question to you, Andrea.
No, but that's a really good question. I think the one thing that we need to, the first thing I would make sure we do when we come back into a school environment is just allow the students just to almost monitor their mental health and just to identify who is it that we need to work with closely, what's the trends, what's coming up with us. And so I think it's just keeping an eye on them. But I think I think another thing is the social, that what's missing is our social skills. So they haven't had a chance to really socialize. And so social skills will be missing, communication skills will be missing, being able to hold a conversation, or sometimes just etiquette, you know, so little mannerisms, bad habits they picked up at home, we need to kind of iron them out. But I would, and I think the biggest thing that I would focus on is memory. So going back to that last kind of slide, so retrieval practice, just making sure that we clear out what is unnecessary on the curriculum and just look at what is it that they actually do need to know and what skills we need to develop, and just practice and practice and practice them so that they can apply them into any circumstance.
Andrea, thank you very, very, very much. On behalf of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, all the teachers from the Indian schools, everybody, the leaders in the Indian schools, everybody, I would like to say a big thank you to you. I could go on listening to you forever. And I hope you will keep in touch even after today, Andrea. And I hope you will, you will not forget my invitation wherein I have told you that you must come to Oman when the world becomes a little different and it's safer to travel. UK is not that far away. We would be delighted to have you here, because what you say makes so much sense to me. You speak the language of every teacher. So I am so grateful that I got to know you. I got to interact with you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very, very much for honoring us on this very special occasion. Thank you, Andrea.
No, thank you, Principal Papri, and everyone who's out there listening. It's been my absolute honor, and absolutely, I'm coming to see you guys because apparently you make the best high tea there is in the world. So I will be there.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We look forward to that, to sharing high tea with you, maybe more than that. Okay. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye. It is my absolute pleasure today to thank each one of you for being here with us at the Best Teachers Awards ceremony. I have the honor of thanking our special dignitaries, our chief guest, His Excellency Dr. Abdullah Khamis Ali Ambusaidi, the Undersecretary, Ministry of Education, His Excellency Manu Mahavar, the Ambassador of India, the Director General, Ministry of Education, Dr. Ali Al-Shukeli, the Assistant Director, International Schools Offices, Mr. Al-Azhar Saud Al-Salmi. Thank you very much for being here with us this evening. Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, Chairman, the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us the honor of hosting this ceremony. The first live one in the Indian schools after the COVID period. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your presence. I'd like to thank every member of the Usher family, especially Mr. Kiran Usher, for hosting the Best Teachers Award. I'd like to thank Mr. MP Vinoba, the Education Advisor. My heartfelt thanks and gratitude goes out to Dr. Alex, the Assistant Education Advisor. He has been a great, great, great support. He's been here almost, every day in the week, telling us how to go about this program, guiding us, supporting us. Thank you very much, Dr. Alex. I'd like to thank the School Management Committee of Indian School Al Gubra, who are always there to support us, especially my president, Mr. Ahmed Rais. The two vice principals of Indian School Al Gubra, Mrs. Pyarija Sadar and Mr. Sri Kumar, who are in leadership roles and are always a big support where I'm concerned. A big thank you to Mr. Sunil Varghese, the IT man who handled it all, who actually had to go through everything when we said no, we had to change it. Thank you, Mr. Sunil Varghese, for your time and your patience. The two MCs for the evening, my colleagues, Mrs. Rajiba Naushad and Mrs. Ann Thomas, thank you very much, very, very much. The two teachers who handled the prizes, thank you very much, Mrs. Lata Saju and Mrs. Sheba Nair. A big thank you to Mrs. Aarti Hari, the dance teacher, and her talented students who put up that wonderful dance. Mr. Dixon, the music teacher, and his wonderful students who sang the prayer song. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Jitish, who manned the lights and the cameras. Thank you, Dr. Jitish, for always being such a help. Mrs. Jutika, thank you very much for all the help that you gave me when I made last-minute requests. The head boy, Mr. Mohammed Kuru, and the head girl, Neetu Andrews, thank you for being there this evening. The art teachers who have done up the stage and the outside, thank you very much. And finally, the people without whom no program in ISG can ever happen. Thank you very much, the administration team, especially Mr. Shamshuddin, Mr. Praveen Purohit, and all the office boys. Thank you very much. Without you, no program can happen. Thank you very much, one and all. Good night, everyone. And thank you for being with us for such a long time.